Hi YouTube, this video is a calling in for white folks who have reacted negatively, critically to the hashtag Me and White Supremacy Challenge, which is hosted by Layla Saad at Wild Moon Woman on Instagram. So, just for a little bit of context, I am participating in the challenge. I've been participating on Layla's Instagram feed in the comments because I was concerned about the possible triggering effects of my words on Black and brown followers in my own feed. But I have been participating and I'm a little behind. I wanted to honor Layla's requirement that we watch all the YouTube videos that go along with the challenge, and since they tend to run about an hour, I need to smush those up on the weekend and do some catching up on the challenge. But the reason I wanted to make this video is because I was very not surprised but upset to hear about some of the vitriol that has been directed Layla's way, the fact that she had to take a 2-day self-care break from the challenge because of how much she was getting. You know, it doesn't surprise me, but it is very upsetting, and I specifically want to make this not for, I don't expect folks who are, reporting her to Instagram and saying slurs and insults. I don't expect somebody like that to be watching a video like this, but I wanted to make this as a calling in, as an engagement, as a conversation with my white peers who might have felt uncomfortable or engaged critically with Layla. Some of the kinds of comments that I saw when I started this challenge were folks, asking why she blocked them and upset about that, or folks who were kind of shocked when she called them out on not fully engaging or digging into a specific question. And if that's where you're coming from and that's how you're feeling, I wanted to engage with you because I do think it is important that we have these conversations as white peers. It's our job to do the work. I assume that if you were in that space, that you did show up intending to do the work, intending to confront your own racism and talk about your own racism as a way to do the work, and then something hit you, something made you uncomfortable, something made you doubt Layla's authenticity or not want to participate in the challenge. And I guess what I would say to you, if that's where you are, is I would ask, as a first step to digging in on your own racism, to think about the fact that this is a Black woman who is putting out this opportunity for white people to do the work for free. Thinking about the fact that she's engaging in this substantial labor, which she doesn't have to. Why would you feel that she owes you a certain level of civility? Where are your expectations coming from? What is it that shocked you or made you feel emotional when someone who's doing work for you for free said, I don't think you're engaging in this in the way that I intended, or I don't think you're really digging in on this. I want to challenge you. If that made you tense up, if that made you have a knee-jerk reaction, think about the concept of civility. Think about the feeling that everyone should participate or engage in a specific way, and where did that come from? Where in your education or upbringing did you get this idea of civility, and who do you think came up with it? Who do you think formed this idea of how we should engage in civil society? Do you think people of color and indigenous people were involved in creating those understandings or that structure? I think that's a good thing to meditate on and ask yourself honestly and answer honestly to yourself, because I think it is easy, if we were raised as white people in this society, I think it's easy for us to engage to a certain level, but then to, when we're pushed, to react badly. And I think one of the most important, maybe not the most important, but one important thing if you're doing anti-racist work as a white person and you're confronting the fact that you are racist, you are a white person, you are racist, when you confront that in yourself, I think one of the things you have to do is get used to emotion. Get used to that feeling of shock, or that feeling of internal dissonance when someone calls you out, and realize that your, assumption that you have the right to respond in anger comes from your privilege, comes from your white privilege specifically. And like, I'm speaking as a peer, this is something that like I've gotten to the point where I know that I'm racist, and I know that I do racist things, and I expect that I will say racist things. I know that I'm, enmeshed in a culture that is white dominant and racist and white supremacist. And yet I still feel like, knowing that, accepting that, I still feel this thing in my chest whenever a black or brown person lets me know that I've said a racist thing, or that I've acted in a racist way. It's upsetting, it's uncomfortable, it brings up feelings of self-hatred and upset, and those feelings are normal, but it's important that we process them away from people of color and indigenous people. It's important that we process them either on our own or with other white people, not in response directly, not, saying, hey, why did you call me out on this? I was trying to engage with your challenge, why did you, I did what I'm supposed to, because that's a surface level of engagement. Layla is very clear, set clear boundaries, clear expectations, clear requirements for the challenge, and I think part of showing up for the Me and White Supremacy Challenge is listening to and abiding by those, and listening and accepting if you fuck up, understanding that you fucked up, and taking accountability for that is very important, because she doesn't have to do this work, and other black and brown people don't have to do this work, and are often forced by necessity to do this work, and it's not fair. And so it's important, I think, as white people, that we question our ideas of how other people should engage with us, and open ourselves up to the fact that black and brown people are feeling a lot of emotion, a lot of anger towards us, a lot of upset, a lot of trauma, and that it is not our place to tone police, as one of the days of the challenge was actually about tone policing. It's not our place to tone police, and this is an example of white fragility when we react in this way, and so it's important to interrogate our own white fragility as part of this challenge, and as part of our anti-racist work in general. So feel free to comment below if you do want to process with another white person. If you feel critical of me, you can tell me. I can take it. I'd be happy to engage with you. And if you're struggling with questions around this, I'm happy to engage in the comments. I'm happy to do the work with other white folks. So yeah, please let me know.